If my people, Bible reading part 147, this will be the last installment of Jeremiah. We will end it in this session. Um, and it continues on all the way. This is like reading Ezekiel. When we went through that, it was all these visions and Yahweh speaking to Jeremiah, powerful prophet. Um, but he left. You notice he left. And if we have time, we'll talk about where he left and where he went, and if he died in Egypt or whatever the rumors go with. We're in chapter 31 of Jeremiah. And at that time, declares Yahweh, I will be an Elohim of all the clans of Israel, and they will be my people. Now, I just read that in the part 146. Um, I have loved you with an everlasting love. I have drawn you with loving kindness. I will build you up again, and you will be rebuilt, O virgin Israel. Again, you will take up your tambourines and go out to dance with the joyful. Kind of like when David got his the Ark of the Covenant back, he was just beyond happy. So much that his wife didn't like it. Obviously, um, doesn't say why. It's just like, hey, you marry people of heathen backgrounds, you get what you get. Um, there's a warning about that in the Bible. Don't yoke up two people who shouldn't be yoked. Um, Verse 6, there will be a day when watchmen cry out on the hills of Ephraim, come out, let us go up to Zion, to Yahweh, our Elohim. Funny that when you read Ezekiel, the oblation sanctuary area where Yahweh, Yeshua, is in the land of Ephraim. Versus you're thinking, oh, you're talking about going down south of Jerusalem. And as we've said over and over again, we can't put the millennial sanctuary, the oblation area, in Jerusalem. It is way, way, way too small. It would take 20 or 30 Jerusalem sizes, 12 by 12, to match the oblation sanctuary area. Okay? So just kind of like there it is, so obvious in the word that Bibles sold all over the world say just the opposite, just thousands and thousands on the bookshelves that don't say anything of what I just said. They say just the opposite. Wow. Test everything I say. Question everything I say. We'll continue on, verse 31. Interesting one. The time is coming, declares Yahweh, when I will make a covenant restored covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Now the covenant it will be restored. The current 1050 Torah commands override that of the old covenant today. We're not waiting to start obeying the 1050 commands that Yeshua gave us. Like I just flipped the page while I was sitting there talking to you. 1 Corinthians, turned on to 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 10. I appeal to you, brothers, in the name of our Master Yeshua Messiah, that all of you agree with one another so that there will be no divisions among you and that you may be perfectly united in mind and thought. That is a Torah command that's totally ignored. Very huge Torah command. We have 30,000 Christian denominations that don't get along with each other. Okay? Verse 31, chapter 1. Therefore, as it is written, let him who boast in Adonai. That, folks, is a Torah command. Just keep going. Chapter 3. I flipped the page. Verse 18. Do not deceive yourselves. If any of you, one of you thinks he is wise by the standards of this age, he should become a fool so that he may become wise. In other words, if you study and you think you're getting wise, dumb yourself down a little bit. Stay on the study because you will see so much more reading the Word every day that you didn't know the week before, the year before, or 10 years before. Don't just hang on to what you learned when you were 9 years old. I mean, this stuff is fantastic. Chapter 4, verse 2. Now it is required that those who have been given a trust must prove faithful. That is a Torah command. So there it is. There's your covenant restored of the feast and so forth, and that's why the Christians who have never done these feasts, they do the Christmas and the Santa Claus and all the Easter Bunny stuff and Halloween. They will do it under iron scepter rule. They will. We're not talking about evil people. No evil people during the millennium, and there's going to be many. Read Revelation, tells you there's many out there gnashing their teeth, hateful people. Yahweh's not talking about an iron scepter rule for them. He's talking about it for you. He loves you, and he wants to see all of you go to the final heaven, the final heaven, the final heaven. Revelation 21. Okay? He's not talking about the millennial time. The millennial time is a time for you as shepherds to heal the nations. Yahweh and Yeshua are running things, and you're going to be part of it as a corrected shepherd. So as you read through that part of Jeremiah, it's just like, wow, this is fantastic stuff. It just keeps going on and on all the way through. Jeremiah has been such the privilege to hear from Yahweh. So much is given to him, just like Ezekiel. It's just like, wow. Both of them probably couldn't write it down fast enough, but I'm sure he had scribes with him at the time doing these things so that all these words were accurate, extremely accurate. Let's go to chapter 49. Chapter 48, chapter 49, verse 38, sorry. I will set my throne in Elam and destroy her king and officials, declare Yahweh. Well, now that's interesting, doesn't it? I mean, do you know what Elam means? Look it up. Yet I will restore the fortunes of Elam in days to come, declares Yahweh. As it is with Egypt and Moab, Syria, restorations. Elam too. Where's Elam? Southern Iran. Persians. There's some good people in Iran. I know the government is crazy evil. Here they are, a state, a country with tremendous amount of oil reserves and possibilities, and they're spending all their money on nuclear research. They're not spending it to make electricity, folks. They're spending it to make bombs, big ones. But do we have to worry about that? That's not how the world's going to end. I'll say this quickly. Don't want to spend too much time with it. The nuclear bomb and bombs in 1945, there was one made for a practice, and it was set off in the western United States, and it worked. So then we went to go after Hiroshima, Nagasaki. There's two more. There's three. And tons of TNT inequality. There have been 3,400 nuclear bombs set off since 1945. Now, we're not talking atomic bombs. We're talking nuclear bombs. So let's equate that to atomic bombs. How many atomic bombs have gone off since 1945? 3? Well, not if you count the nuclear bombs. It would be around 34,000. Could you imagine a world in which 34,000 atomic bombs have been set off? Would we be alive today? Would we be alive? The answer is yes, because we are. I remember as a young child, a young man living in Nevada, wearing these little tags, radioactivity tags, checking them every month. It was around 12 to 15 roentgens. It had a measurement showing levels. Now 60 and above, it gets to be kind of dangerous, and 200, and you're going to die. And it was around 10 to 15, and all the children, you had to watch the milk that you drank and what stream you drank out of and all this stuff. And that was the 60s. And yet we've done all this cloud seeding and chemtrailing and everything ever since 1968, trying to clean the air of this, putting all these metals in the air and so forth. By the way, that's what they were doing. If you don't know what the cloud seeding is all about, yes, chemtrails are real. Goodness sakes. Ask the Grace Corporation, Grace, Grace, which makes all the chemicals for the United States military. They put in jet military and commercial planes. Yes, they do. Anyway, that's another time, another place. It says here that Elam's going to be restored. Another promise of restoration. Do you remember about the promise about Ishmael and then Abraham's wife ran off because she was jealous of the child. Remember all that? And Yahweh made a promise that the 12 tribes from that Ishmaelites were going to be in the future. They will be a mighty, mighty people and a mighty nation. You remember that? Not just what you're told about the Jews, the 12 tribes. We're talking about the other 12 tribes. Well, there's part of it right there. Okay. Then we get into chapter 50, and it continues on. And let's go to 51:37. Babylon will be a heap of ruins, a haunt of jackals, an object of horror and scorn, a place where no one lives. That's not the Babylon in Iraq, because it's not true. Her people will all roar like young lions. They growl like lion cubs. Let's continue on. That's verse 42. Interesting. The sea will rise over Babylon. Its roaring waves will cover her. Her towns, plural, will be desolate, a dry and desert land, a land where no one lives, through which no man travels. I will punish Baal in Babylon and make him spew out what he has swallowed. The nations will no longer stream to him, and the wall of Babylon will fall. Come out of her, my people. Come out of her, my people. Run for your lives. Run for the fierce anger of Yahweh. Yahweh is commanding us to come out of Babylon. That horrid, horrid city. Well, having said that, Jerusalem could be called a Babylon right now. New York City could be called a Babylon right now. A number of cities on the seaside could be Los Angeles, San Francisco, of all places. Goodness sakes, they've taken a beautiful, beautiful area and messed it up. Messed it up with the types of people that live there. It is nothing but Sodom and Gomorrah. Israel will not be called. Let's go back to chapter 33, verse 16. In those days Judah will be saved, and Jerusalem will live in safety. This is the name by which it will be called, Yahweh our righteousness. Here is what the city, comment, of Jerusalem will be called. It's Tzadekenu. Zedekenu. Or just say, here is what this city is called, Yahweh our righteousness. Yahweh lives here. But right now it's called Sodom and Egypt. Not good. So this is how it ends. This is how the prophet Jeremiah ends his book. He ends, it's a long book. It's 50 some odd chapters. 51, I think. 52, excuse me. The key point. Let me read it from something else I prepared for you. Jeremiah. He was born a priest in Anathoth, just north of Jerusalem. You mean God can't make me a priest if I want to be one? The answer is no. Yahweh does what Yahweh does. Yahweh's ways are his ways, not your ways, not my ways. Was I born to be a priest? No. Was I hopefully born to be a decent, stab at it, try to get it right teacher? Yeah. I love this stuff. I love the research part of it. Probably not a great teacher, though. He was chosen to be a prophet before he was born, Jeremiah 1:5. He was called to the prophetic office when he was very young. I don't distrust anyone who says, I got saved when I was 6. You might have been saved when you were 6. I know I wasn't, but you might have been. He was commissioned of Yahweh to be a prophet. He began his ministry in the reign of King Josiah and was a mourner at his funeral. 2 Chronicles 35:25. You got to go to 2 Chronicles to find that one, 35:25. He was forbidden to marry because of the terrible times in which he lived. Does not it say that in the last days it may be a good idea not to have children? People may choose not to have any. Okay, that's the end of Jeremiah.